And we'll start with the head table. Before you get that down, you guys want to go ahead and get mine. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our program. Continue to enjoy your lunch. I want to also welcome those that we have participating on Zoom. We're glad that you could join us today. This is our first in-person lunch, I think, for all the chambers since COVID started, since February. So we're excited that you're all here and happy to be able to bring everybody together again. I also want to introduce our partners, chambers that are here today. We have Kim Curtis, she's the president of the Grandview Chamber. Short, executive director of the Belton Chamber. And towards the end of the program, we'll give you guys some time to talk about what you guys have going on at your chambers. Before we get started today, we have two sponsors that we would like to recognize. And when I call you up, please come to the podium and speak. First is Judith Unruh with Letty Ann and Associates Real Estate Services.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, so I'm going to try to talk really fast because I have about 2 minutes to talk about what I can talk about for about 2 hours. So, wow, what is happening in the real estate market? Well, coming out of 2019, we were already in a low inventory situation. And then, so it was a seller's market. It has been for a couple of years. So then we come into 2020, and a lot of my sellers who were saying, you know, we're going to wait until the spring. We think that's the best time to put our house on the market. That's a whole nother subject because it's always a good time to put your house on the market, not necessarily in the spring, but the majority of people think that that's the best time. So here comes March, right? And what happens? We get hit with a pandemic. And so all of my sellers who were either relocating or had a house on a contingent that they had to sell their property said, we're not in. We're going to wait. We don't want people in our property. We want to see what's going to happen. We're going to lay low. Understandable. But here's where it puts us. Compared to the second quarter of 2019, we are 45% below inventory levels that we were at in 2019. Unbelievable. I mean, we thought we'd never see inventory lower than it was, but of course the pandemic throws havoc into everything. So then you have the buyer's side, and you have all these buyers, and you have this great low interest rate. Right now it's 2.625 for a 30-year conventional, 20% down, and an FHA is 2.49. So you've got this little inventory over here, and you have this excessive buyer pool over here. And I have buyers saying, now's the time, we want to resize, we want to upsize, we want to downsize, right? This is the time to do it because we can get so much more house for the same amount of money that we're paying now on our mortgage. Therein lies the problem. So being at Faulkner Ranch, imagine a stampede of longhorns coming into town in the country western. Because when that right fit property comes on the market for my buyer, that's exactly what it's like. It's a stampede. It is multiple offer. It's over asking price. It's competitive. My advice to you is if you have a realtor who's experienced and knows how to navigate all of that water that we're in right now, you're in a lot better position because you can come into that situation if you're a buyer or you know a buyer. Of course, the sellers are happiest larks, because they're looking at multiple offers, but for buyers, it's very difficult. So my recommendation to you is get a realtor who's familiar with what's going on, for sure. That's very important in this day and age to get an experienced realtor. Okay, one other thing I'm going to share and then I'm going to go. Please don't trust Zillow for everything. Zillow's a great resource to know what's on the market or what's not on the market. Not always accurate. when I have a seller that says to me, Judith, my next door neighbor's house, though it shows on Zillow, it sold for, $12,500 over their list price. Well, that's a gross sales price. That is not the net sales price. Do you know that a seller can pay up to 3% in seller paid closing costs on the contract price of the house? So in other words, and that's a conventional loan. If they're doing an FHA loan, they can pay up to 6% in closing costs. But that number that you see on Zillow, that's the gross sales price. The only accurate source of information is Heartland MLS. So ask your realtor, ask me. I'm a South Kansas City real estate specialist. I'm an advisor. I love to talk about real estate. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Judith, and thank you for being a sponsor today. Next, we have Scott Swim. Scott owns Legacy Mergers and Acquisitions.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. And I can tell your smiling faces even behind the mask. Your eyes give you up. So I'm Scott Swim, Legacy Mergers and Acquisitions. If you don't know, we provide 3 services: business valuation, exit strategy services, and we help people buy or sell a business. And today I'd like to talk just a little bit about 2 things. Number one, a question I get from virtually every client that I work with is, how has the pandemic affected, if you're a business owner thinking about selling, the value of my business? And number 2, are buyers still buying and are banks still lending? And so, number 1, the value of the business. A business valuation is always based on cash flow. My experience to date, and I can't promise this will be the case, a year, 18 months down the road, but lenders are really overlooking that little bump in the road. They recognize it was temporary, it was not normal, if you were closed, they're accepting that, as long as your business has come back or is coming back to normal. So that's the first thing. The other thing that I would like to discuss with you, if you are a buyer, and this is also a huge benefit to sellers, and it would be tough to get this accomplished at this point, but the SBA, on every loan that was closed and will close up until September 27th, they pay the next 6 months principal and interest. Fantastic deal. In all of my life, I've never seen anything like that. So if you are even thinking about buying a business right now, now is the time. I've had several close, and it has saved anywhere from $75,000 up to over $100,000 towards that investment. It's just incredible program. Other than that, thanks for coming. Good to see you all, and looking forward to our program today.
We'd also like to thank Faulkner's Ranch for hosting our event today. I know for them, events in this world is challenging, but they're doing some great things. I would like to introduce Christine Lohman to tell us a little bit about some things they have going on.
Howdy, everyone. Welcome to the ranch. So nice to have people here. Yeah, it has been a challenging year. Our company picnic season, we have not hosted one single company picnic this year, which is really something in my 22 career. But anyhow, we have hosted a variety of smaller events. We have our outdoor picnic pavilion, so celebration of marriages, a couple of graduation parties, and milestone type events. And right now we are gearing up for pumpkin season. We plan to open October 1st through the 31st as usual. We'll have limited hours. We'll have timed ticketing to control the attendance. So that'll be very different this year for us, and some of the activities we won't be able to offer that we have normally been able to offer. So all of those things we are working on right now. So if you're one of our regular visitors and are planning on joining us this pumpkin season, please give us a call or hop on our website before your visit so that you can plan properly. And we would love to have you out here this year. So after this meeting today, Corinna, our event coordinator, and I will be offering tours of the property if anyone would like to join us. Thanks.
Thank you, Christine. And again, thanks for having us here today. The food I heard was wonderful. Haven't had a chance to eat yet, but so today you guys are here to learn about Kauffman Foundation's Real World Learning Initiative. This is something that started in 2017. The Kauffman Foundation began to lay the groundwork for what is now a collaborative initiative across our region. Comprised of dozens of employers, there are over 25 school districts and impacting over 100,000 students. And the purpose of this program aims to create more connected experience through a student's journey, so that ultimately when they graduate from high school, they're prepared for what lies ahead, whatever that may be. It might be college, it might be technical career, it could be anything. Real world learning, their goal is to bridge education and employers to build work-ready skills and develop lifelong learners that are aware of their potential and ready to contribute to the community when they're out of school. Next, we are going to hear from 4 of our school districts that serve all of the chambers that are here. Those are Belton, Center, Grandview, and Hickman Mills. And they're going to talk about the opportunities that their districts are offering to the students. But I have an ask of you, as you listen to this program, think about how your company or organization could be a partner in this initiative with the school districts. You're going to hear lots of examples that they'll give about things that they're doing and things that how employers can get engaged. So think about how that fits your business and how you might be able to play a part in this. Because obviously our students can't have real world experiences if we can't get out in the real world. And I know getting in person is a challenge, but I think there are some great virtual opportunities and virtual ways of presenting projects and things to our students. So just keep that in mind as you're listening. Our first speaker today is Dr. Stacy Yurkovich. She is Director of Academies for the Belton School District. Stacy, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. This is like one of my favorite topics. And those of you who've heard me talk before know that limiting it to about 10 minutes, I will do it, but I really am passionate about this. I'm going to start by just saying that this journey in Belton actually started about 5 years ago with the leadership in our district wanting more for our students at the high school level particularly. And so there was an exploration that started at that time as to what is out there that we could provide a higher level of engagement for our high school students in their own education, and as was already mentioned, a more relevant learning experience. And through that journey, the 4 next generation learning opportunities surfaced, and we have partnered with that organization beginning probably 2016 is when that partnership was actually developed. And you'll see on this slide several logos, and in the upper right hand corner is that Ford Next Generation Learning Ford NGL logo, and Belton has been designated a Ford NGL community. The process from there actually involved about 50 individuals, and some of the people in this room were part of that master planning process that lasted about 18 months. Stakeholder representatives from the civic leaders in our community and higher ed and parents and students and teachers and district level and business and industry in our region were all part of that process as we developed a plan and a vision and a transformation of not only Belton High School, but the Belton community. Because one of the strands, there are 3 strands with the Ford NGL model, is that collaboration with the community and the schools. And that is critical to the success of the academies at Belton. It's critical for our students. And when Kaufman then started talking about real world learning initiative, the alignment was so perfect and really came at a wonderful time for us at Belton as we were trying to determine how are we going to bring in enough partners and how are we going to network with these people to provide what it is we want for our students, that real world learning experience. And so through the Kaufman Foundation and our partnership with them and the networking with the numbers of communities, there are 16 school districts in this first cohort of the initiative, and then others have joined in phase 2 and cohort 2, and there are even some in cohort 3 that are kind of looking at this. So in the region, that networking and those opportunities have been critical also, and really enhanced the design that we had in place for the academies of Belton. You'll see the logo on this slide, not only of our Belton School District, but the academies of Belton also in the lower right-hand corner. And I actually have a brief video that provides an overview of the structure and what it is that we are doing in Belton School District.
I don't want technology doesn't.
As high school students, because navigating new horizons in the 21st century requires more of us every day.
Belton has partnered with 4 next generation learning, gathering input from teachers, employers, higher education professionals, civic leaders, and students to transform our high school and community. We call this transformation the Academies of Belton, and its goal is to make more meaningful and relevant learning possible.
We start this journey with the Freshman Academy, where we master skills to help us transition successfully to high school, learn more about ourselves, explore careers, and prepare us to make our academic selection. The Academies of Belton include business and technology, human services, and science and industry. We then choose a more focused career pathway based on our intentions. Our content classes, math, English, science, and social studies are being taught in the lens of our selected academy.
The academy selection for the rest of our high school years is like choosing a college major. The pathways we put in our academy help us focus even further on our future options and opportunities. The academy we choose becomes a school within a school, where we study with those with similar interests and build strong relationships with our teachers and each other. No matter which academy or pathway we choose, our courses will revolve around real-world learning. Workplace learning opportunities like job shadowing and internships will give us hands-on experiences, providing a better understanding of career options, as well as increased technical and employability skills.
Because we learn within a career team that interests us, school becomes more engaging, relevant, and fun, increasing our academic achievement, attendance, and graduation. This ensures that all graduates of our school district will be prepared to enroll in college or other post-secondary training, enlisted military service, or become employees in government careers with opportunities to grow.
Most importantly, we will prepare all of us for a college, career, and life. To find out more or to get involved, visit beltonschools.org.
So I want to draw attention to just a couple of things from that video. The first being, and this is unique to the academies of Belton and compared to some other things that we looked at before actually developing this partnership, is that this is a wall-to-wall opportunity for Belton High School students, which means that every student at the high school, it will be, by the time we graduate the class of 2023, a part of this process. We began implementation last year with our freshman class, and as the video indicated, that year is really spent on exploration and not only of themselves, but career opportunities. And during the second semester, then they select an academy and a pathway. So those students who are sophomores right now are in an academy and a pathway that was articulated in that video. Another component that I want to draw attention to, there was a reference to the math, science, social studies, and English teachers teaching through the lens. Within this academy model that we are implementing, we have interdisciplinary teams within each of the 3 academies. And those are teams of teachers representing the core content as well as the elective pathways. So they are meeting every other day and collaborating and not only talking about students who they share in their classes, but also how do I teach English through the lens of science and industry? How can I teach those standards and connect them to science and industry and career fields that are related to that? So those are 2 critical components. A third one that a third component is the business involvement. I mentioned that the third strand of the academy model is a collaboration between the business community, the civic community, and the schools. So this is, and a portion that we have already started implementing, and of course the events of March have made this look a little bit different, but this is how business and higher ed and civic leaders can and have been involved with our academies and our real world learning initiative. And that is to see this scramble of words, but your input on what skills are needed for students who are interested in an IT career, or in an architecture and construction career, or a health services career. And so we have included those individuals in career fairs, where students actually had opportunity to talk with those individuals when they were freshmen and before they made a selection. And then once a selection was made, we brought some of those individuals back for roundtable discussions in smaller groups where students could sit down with someone who has the job that they think they someday would like to have. Those are all ways that business has been and will continue to be involved. Your input on the curriculum that we're teaching, what components of your business or your career path should we be including in the curriculum that we deliver to students? Through the Real World Learning Initiative and the Kaufman Foundation, we've talked about market value assets. So what IRCs, what industry recognized credentials, or what dual credit classes, or what internships would be valuable for our students to have before they reach the workforce. That input from you, from those of you who are doing this work every day, is critical. And so those are ways that you can be involved and that we invite you to be involved. The return for you then, and those are listed, but the primary return is that we are working together and collaborating so that the students that we graduate are prepared for that next level of their life, whether it's a technical school or an apprenticeship or a 2-year, 4-year college or straight into the workforce. They are better prepared to come to your employment and do the job. And again, that's a collaborative effort throughout the time that they are in high school. Other opportunities for our kids where you can be involved are, I talked about career fair and roundtable discussions and your input with our teachers to offer teachers opportunities for externships, to be on the job site or in the workplace. Because most of us, and you know, we start school when we're 5 and we go to school every day of our lives. Most of us have not worked in the private sector or in another job other than a part-time job. So it is valuable for us to see what that looks like as well. Job shadows, internships for our students, and we're looking at ways this year when we're not bringing people into the building, the high school, which we started on Monday with students. We're taking students out to workplaces, so we're looking at ways to do that virtually. So we invite you to be a part of the Academies of Belton in whatever capacity you might be interested. My contact information is on this slide, and again, thank you for the opportunity today.
Thank you very much. Our next presenter will be Dr. Yolanda Carvel. She is the Superintendent of Center School District.
Good afternoon. I'm thinking, what's time is it now? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I am, like Vicki shared, Yolanda Carvel, Superintendent for Center School District. My first year as Superintendent in the Center School District, and so excited to be able to present and share with you today. I want to, before I start speaking about what we're doing in the Center School District, I want to explain some of the documents you have on the table in front of you. We have an info chart on the table that provides brief and general information about the demographics in Center School District. There is also one document with the circles on it that explains, it's titled Real World Learning, and it's a general document in nature in terms of real world learning and the role employers play, as well as business partners. And then the second document that has more detailed information frames for you and serves as a tool in terms of benefit and offerings and how you can support students in the South Kansas City microregion. And so I will not limit this conversation to just Center School District, but you'll hear from 2 other leaders this afternoon that will speak about our collaboration in the South Kansas City region, and one that I'm super, super excited about. And so to start, the Kaufman Foundation has provided a framework for 3 districts to engage in dialogue around services for students. And for me, what that means, and I'm super excited about it, is we get the opportunity in Spencer, Grandview, and Hickman Mills to rethink schooling. Like, we literally get to reframe services to students across regions. You know, when I was a student in Ruskin High School, I graduated from Ruskin High School, I think about my classes were limited to just Ruskin High School. And now we are engaged in planning that allows students to choose based on their career choice and their interests. And so you'll hear more about that amongst the 3 of us today. And so that's the exciting part as we think about real world learning in the South Kansas City region, as we talk about real world learning in Center School District. All right, and you've heard market value assets, so some of this information will be reviewed for me. And so if we think about market value assets, we think about opportunities for students to engage in deeper learning, again, tied to their own career. career choice and their interests. And so we think about ways in which they can earn market value assets. Our goal as a district is to increase those opportunities and think about how we can determine and identify enhanced experiences for students to grow in the area and learn skills that align with their interests. And so one of them being industry recognized credentials, the other around dual credit, and we have a great deal of those opportunities for our students currently, but we're looking to expand around client projects. And so that's where you as a business and employer comes in as you think about what projects, what experiences, what opportunities can you propose and offer for students who have an interest in a field of study to serve in a role that you currently serve. So how can you share in that? I know many employers may think, oh, I'm not an educator, I don't know what that means. You know, I can't teach children. And so we're not asking for you to teach children. What we're asking for you to do is to create real world learning experiences that allow them to explore, that allow them to learn, that allow them to ask questions that they can't ask if they didn't have someone to observe, to shadow, to work with. And so that's what we think about in terms of client projects. And so an agreed upon number of hours that our students, based on, again, their interests, they're wanting to explore a field that you're highly skilled in. And so we are standing here today, I am standing here today, and we're here to ask you to think about how we can enhance partnerships between school and business so that our students leave knowing, yes, that's what I want to do. I had an opportunity to spend a semester or a quarter with an engineer when I absolutely loved it. Or, you know what, I found out after spending some time that that's not what I want to do. But then it really helps for our students. And so again, as we think about creating additional opportunities for students, we also want them to have this entrepreneurial experience. You know, for students, even though as it aligns with their career choices, how do we also create entrepreneurs? And so as we think about allowing students an opportunity to connect with and learn and be able to market themselves and a service that they're eager to share. So we are looking to create more experiences for children. I have helped and assisted with that by hosting a females girls group at the high school level, where I bring in guest speakers each month to speak to students about their work. Some of those are entrepreneurs, and so the female students have an opportunity to ask questions, to learn from them. You know, what bumps in the road did you have to deal with as you started your own business? And so we think about these real world learning opportunities to be face-to-face, now virtual, with individuals, but allowing them to be able to seek more information and learn as much as they can as they think about their future based on their career choices. And so here on the screen, you will see Center School District data as it relates to earned market value assets. So that's all the experiences that we talked about and you heard this morning around dual credit, client projects, industry recognized credentials. And so we have a goal that also aligns with the Kaufman goal. By 2030, that 100% of our students will leave high school having earned a market value asset. When you think about that, the benefit to the student, but also the benefit to the community, and then even bigger, the benefit in society. The students are leaving with experiences that help them be self-sufficient and contribute. And so in Center School District, currently 18% of our students are leaving high school with a earned market value asset. And so what does that mean for us? It gives us room to grow. And that means that a majority of our students are earning those market value assets through dual credit courses, so taking college credit courses, as well as through internships and industry recognized credentials. And so our ask today from Center School District specifically is greater opportunity for client projects. And so employers, business partners, think about what projects you could offer students to explore to help you solve issues at your work site. And so our third year goal, as we continue to work through this, is we're thinking about creating, enhancing, and expanding real-world learning experiences for children. Our goal is that 38% of our students will have earned a market value asset. And then a 5-year goal is 55%, and our 10-year goal is that every student leaves Center High School with an earned market value asset. And so I'll speak to that on the next slide as we think about a reference to expanding, enhancing, and creating. And so ultimately our goal is that every student has an opportunity to explore and interest based on their choices. And so we design coursework and experiences and learning opportunities for our students based on their interests. And so one of our future goals, as we think about this, is that we are working to create a real-world learning strategic plan that we've already begun to develop, as well as a profile of a graduate, but even more importantly, having this conversation outside of just high school. And so having a focus for our district-wide, that's college and career ready, real-world learning experiences are focused for all students, all teachers, kindergarten through 12th grade. So for our families, our parents, our students. And so as we think about our offerings currently, as around real-world learning at Center School District, we are launching, as we think about the 3 districts in the South Kansas City microregion, one of the focuses that other students at Grandview and Hickman Mills will be able, their students will be able to join beginning the 21-22 school year courses around fire and emergency response. So we're offering those courses in which they'll have the opportunity to earn dual credit and participate and earn 3 industry recognized credentials along with the 10 hours of dual credit through MCC. And so it's partnerships like that in the community that allow us to create opportunities for our students. In addition to the introduction to fire and emergency responder, we're also offering a broadcast production in which we will work with Niles Media on a client project. So where students will have an opportunity to work on a project and create a final production. And then as I previously mentioned, in the area of entrepreneurship and allowing our students to explore what it means to start your own business and begin, like some of you, be your own boss and entrepreneur. In addition to this new item that I've been learning about since joining Center School District is augmented reality and virtual reality. And so what that means, you're wondering, because I had to look it up myself in terms of providing, connecting a combination of virtual and real world opportunities for students, in addition to real world interactions for students, and then lastly, like 3D productions. And so it's an interactive experience of a real world environment where objects are enhanced by computers. So we're creating learning experiences for our students to grow in those areas. Next, currently being offered through the 3 districts, South Kansas City microregion, is our digital design and production, where students are earning credentials around Adobe. And through a partnership and collaboration with Grandview and Hickman Mills, as well as Avila College, students will earn industry recognized credentials and dual credit in the area of Adobe and digital design. So that's happening currently. And so those are 5 offerings as we think about how we serve children in Center School District. It's so much more exciting when we think about the other offerings that you'll hear about today from Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Obeng and Grandview and Hickman Mills. And so their offerings, our students in Center will also be able to participate in those if they're interested. And their students, if they're interested in our fire and emergency safety, will be able to take courses in district. And we'll create schedules and align in that piece, but to make sure that, again, they have options. And that's what it's all about. If you think about your time when you were in high school, I didn't have those options at Ruskin High School. I didn't graduate that long ago from Ruskin. However, I didn't have that. And so when I think about expansion and creating learning opportunities for children, that truly makes me excited. And when I get to have conversations with partners like you and parents, that is the nugget for which I share. That's my point of pride, that your child, based on their interests and their decision in terms of what their future will hold for them, have a choice. If they're interested in computer manufacturing, they can take courses in Grandview. If they're interested in the performing arts, they can take courses in Hickman Mills. So we're rethinking schooling with our neighboring partners to best serve children. And so today, I end with thank you, but I also ask, my ask for you as business partners is to think about client projects and what opportunities you can provide for our students based on the focus and the service that you provide in your business, in your organization, in your role. And so really thinking, what solution, what opportunities do we have within the organization that a group of students could work on for a particular specified period of time to help us solve, but then also earn the opportunity for the real world learning experience and to grow and learn to make decisions for the future. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you, Dr. Cargill. Next, we're going to hear from Dr. Penny Rodriguez from the Grandview School District.
All right, good afternoon. Been around long enough and been around Dr. Cargill long enough to where I know what I'm walking into when I have to talk after her. So the nice thing, number one, about the districts is there's so many similarities, not only in our populations, but also in a lot of the things that you've heard. So I'm not going to touch on many of those same components that are going to be the exact same thing. I'll just kind of tell you the history of our district and what we're doing and why we're doing it. The biggest piece was a conversation that I had starting out with our high school principal 4 years ago when I became superintendent. This is now going into my 5th year. And it was really around challenges that she was having with the high school schedule and gaps in seniors' schedules in particular. And that they were not really wanting to stay on campus. They were done with their credits, they wanted to finish with their half day, and they wanted to leave, or they only needed one more credit, and they were leaving. And she was concerned because they were leaving us and having nothing else to do. And my concern was, why are we not providing them with other opportunities? What are we missing? There's something that we're doing that's wrong here if our students are wanting to leave us rather than us being able to provide them more opportunities. So we began looking at many different things. We already have a lot of things in place in our school district, but the number one thing that we had not done was really take apart that look and say, what can we start offering our students? And how do we do that? The number one question I ask my staff and my teams is, my favorite time of year is graduation. I love graduations. I love standing on stage. I used to love shaking everyone's hand when they walk across the stage, but we'll get back to that hopefully at some point in time. But the number one thing, when I look across the stage and everyone walks across, I have a real struggle with, did we prepare every single one of the students to walk across our stage for a path after high school? Right now, I can probably say something very close to what Senator showed, that about 18 to 20%, probably yes. There's another group that's probably, we're pretty close to that. And then there's another group that I'm going to say, no, we don't. So it may be 50-50 that I'm not exactly sure whether we prepare them for a pathway after high school. So that's the number one goal, is I want every single one of the students that graduate from our school to leave with a path. Now we have to start also with challenges of, we used to push college on everybody, whether it was their pathway or not. You need to go to college. Yeah, but I don't really want to, it doesn't matter, you need to go to college. Yeah, but I want to go do this. That's great. Go to college first and then go do that. So then they leave us and they go to college because we told them to. They drop out after 2 years because they realize this is not for them. They have all this debt that they leave with, and then they end up going and doing what they wanted to do in the first place. So the conversation began to change again and shift in our district. That doesn't matter. I don't care whether we have 80% of our students that go to college and 20% that don't, or it's flipped, and we have 20% that don't, or 20% that do and 80% that don't. Do they have a path? Do we know what they're wanting to do? And after they leave us, they are prepared to go and have a career of some kind after they leave us that's going to support them and their families. That is not an easy thing to do, but we began doing the exact same thing that what was mentioned previously. You start thinking, this can't be a 9th grade thing, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. There's just no possible way. 4 years ago, we started having these conversations with our elementary schools. 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. What does career exploration really look like in elementary schools? We are not perfect. We are not even close to where we need to be. But I did remember last year I sat in on a 2nd grade class that was having a debate. Now they were debating whether video games are good or bad and they should be playing them for whatever time they want to. But these were 2nd graders that were standing up, presenting an argument, and then the other team presented their argument. Then they had to stop and they had to write down what the other person had said, and they had to counter argue with each other. Those kinds of skills are not about one particular career or whether they're going to college or not. Those are the kind of skills that every one of our students needs to have when they leave us. And again, they can't start in 9th grade. So we start at, what do we need to, what are the skills that we need to embed in our elementary, middle, and high schools? So we start slowly building this up. So as we've gone through that, again, building the pathways for our students, we start to say, okay, what are those pathways? What are our students interested in? What do they want to do? Some people do. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't know I was going to be a superintendent, I can tell you that, but I knew that I wanted to be a music person of some kind. So I was a band director. I knew that. I knew that when I was in middle school. A lot of people had no earthly idea what they're going to do in high school and beyond. So we need to be exploring that with them. And then what happens when they want to change? How do we make sure that we're providing that space for them to explore? What does this look like? What is the world that they're walking into going to look like? It's not going to be all about college. It's just not. We've talked to any number of different businesses that we have a preconceived notion of what it means and what they need to do to walk into those businesses. And they're like, no, we don't care about any of that stuff. Okay, what do you care about? And I just want to see what they can create. I want to see what they can do. Can they talk to me about what they've done? Can they share it with this? I don't care if it's schooling. I don't care if it's credentials. Okay, so for that business, they don't care. In that world, there are some areas that no matter what, you have to have college degree. You just do. So again, what do you want to do? What is your pathway going to look like? What is your passion? What do you want to look at? If you don't know, then we're going to help you explore that. And as we help you explore that, that will start to understand exactly what that means, and then we develop that pathway for you. Oh, that's what you're interested in. So here's some classes. Here are some things that you need to make sure you go and do. We're going to also provide you an internship, or at least provide you an opportunity to go out into the world and so you can experience it. And then you come back and you say, oh my Lord, I had no idea that's what that was. I did not want to do that. Okay, well let's find another pathway. If you want to be in the medical profession, you don't have to be a doctor. There are a lot of other ways that you can support medical fields and that you are still participating in that without being a doctor. Maybe you want to be a doctor. My daughter loves the medical side of things, but in no way, shape, or form wanted to be a doctor. She figured out physical therapy is what she wants. My son, 15, he has no earthly idea, so we have some work to do there. But we also have work to do with our parents, because again, for a lot of our parents, it's the same thing. That's great. I love this concept. Everybody have a path. That's fantastic. I mean, my kids don't go to college. It's good for everybody else's kid except for my own. This is a conversation I have in my own home with my wife and I. Like, it has to be about what are they interested in doing, and then we develop a pathway from there. So you've heard a lot of things. You've heard a lot of the pieces with the Kaufman work. Kaufman was able to bring this together and synthesize it so it's a unified message from every school district that's working with them. And that's the biggest component, is that it brings all the businesses together, all the communities together around the exact same types of things. And you hear every district's doing it a little differently, just a little different way. But the languaging and a lot of the same concepts are the exact same. You heard advanced manufacturing. That's one of the pieces that we focused on for our partnership. And that's our first piece that we're pushing forward with. I'm very proud that we still have a Woods and Metals class. We still have that in there, and we constantly have those classes full. So that was going to be our first one. In Grandview, we also have a lot of manufacturing businesses. So it was the perfect blend of what we had in our community as well as what we still had in our school district. So as we continue to expand all the pathways and we make sure that kids have an opportunity to see and explore their passions and their interests, again, the number one goal is I want to make sure that when students walk across the stage, that we know when they leave us that they have a path. Can't always control it after they leave that. They decide not to do it or to do something else. But leading up to that point, it is our job to make sure that they're prepared for that. So that's our goal. That's what guides us, and that's what continues to drive us towards this. So it's a lot of great information, and I know it's a lot. She talks about the ask. I would just say, get involved. There's any number of things. I know a lot of times we come to you with financial type things. There's a lot of pieces to this that have nothing to do with money, that really just determine time and helping us out. Sometimes it's we're developing projects, and I need some people to come out and judge them. Give feedback to our students and say, you know what, in my business, if I saw this, this is what I would be thinking, and we wouldn't be interested in that because of this. They need to hear that critical feedback sometimes from other people other than us. So get involved and do whatever you can to support what's going on, because this is the most exciting time, in my opinion, because I've never seen an entire area from the Kansas side and the Missouri side in the area all united around something, just around market value assets and around real world learning. So it's really exciting, and I don't think it's happening in any other place in the country. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our final speaker today is Dr. Yao Wing from the Pigment Mill School District. And also want to welcome him to the community. All of our administrators have had the challenge of trying to figure out how to educate our children through the pandemic. But Dr. Wing just arrived in Kansas City and started his job July 1st. So not only has he had to figure that out, but he's had to kind of get acquainted with the district. So welcome, we're glad to have you here today.
Like I'm playing a giant game of Who's. Promised my partner that I'd make sure I wipe down when I was in front of people and I'd wear my mask. And I wouldn't be it, you know, but you're it. So thank you for the introduction. I'm so happy to be here in Kansas City, and it's appropriate that I'm following Dr. Cardos. I followed her in the mill. She was previous superintendent. So thank you, Dr. Cardos, for all the work you've done, and I hope I can do you proud in terms of moving the ball up the hill. I do have to say that I know if my mother was here, I hope she's not watching through Zoom, because she would say that we're in a hat today. She'd say, take your hat off, what are you in a bar? There you go. There you go. All right, so everything that I wanted to say has been said by my colleagues. So thank you very much, and we will see. I do have some comments to make about, you heard so eloquently from three colleagues here in terms of the real world learning and the strategies that are being deployed in this area. My first question is, can I get everyone just to stand up? Okay. I just want to see if I still have my classroom. Control the class. I want to sit down if you came here today in the vehicle. Vehicle. Well, pretty much everyone. And the reason why I'm using that example is in a minute, because I want to sort of connect with something that colleagues were talking about. And really, it's about the educational approach and the opportunity about real world learning. And I use the example around the vehicle. You know, over 100 years ago, when they started this industrial age of schooling, we followed sort of manufacturing protocol, right? For the factory, where seated rows, when the bell rings, you go to class, when the bell rings, you go back to your factory work, and everything was orchestrated and structured. And we really haven't changed that much, right? In terms of over 100 years, in terms of this real world learning opportunity really connects back to actually where schooling started, was relating and preparing our students, children for the real world, whether it was farming, whether it was the manufacturing industry, and that's how school was designed. And I think we need to take a look at redesigning in the 21st century schooling that meets our needs. Dr. Rodriguez talked about the pathways in terms of our children have, whether it's college, apprenticeships, workplace, or universities. And I know from the data, we have about 28% of our population go on to 4 years, right? So what about the other 75% population? What are they doing? They must be doing something. We're doing something. And we traditionally just focus on a certain pathway. And it makes sense because as educators and teachers, we know one pathway. You think about who teaches your children, they all came from a certain pathway. They have a certain experience in terms of their student experience, and they're trying to espouse that to our students. But the real world is quite diverse. We all have different opportunities and different tracks that we can go down in order to be successful. So I kind of wanted to focus on that piece. So I thought this was a great opportunity when I arrived here at Hickory Mills to find out that we are part of this partnership, especially within the region. I was really looking at the dynamic of how we educate children and support in the community partnerships. So I think it's an opportunity not just for us, but it's also an opportunity for the community and our business partners to have a real stake in our future in terms of working with our students. So I wanted to share that with you. So I'm just going to go through some quick slides, and I'll go through quite quickly. You know, usually I'm the guy between you and lunch, but you had lunch already. So I'm the person between you and dismissal. So, you had a good overview of the program itself. So I'll share a little bit from our perspective at Hickory Mills in terms of what we do. A lot is correlates to what my colleagues are doing, and we're working really hard to continue to have that collaboration so we can service all the students that are in the area. So here we go. So turning experiences into opportunities. And that's what we're looking at. School should be an experience, right? When you talk to students, it's an experience. An experience doesn't have to be in one setting. It should be in multiple settings, right? What we're doing today, very Socratic style, very traditional, right? Doesn't work for everyone. You think about your workplace and the work that you do. You stand up and talk at somebody for 3 hours, 2 hours, an hour? Most likely not. Usually some sort of dynamic, some sort of learning, some sort of task, application of knowledge, and then so we want to turn our experiences into opportunities for our students to grow and learn. Okay, click. I said click. So at Westfield High School, we've got, and you see this here in the slides, as well as the other streams on arts and communication, business and finance, engineering, technology, health, and human services. And right now, currently, we've got 100% of our students have chosen a pathway in the real world program. So that's a great start. The earlier you start, the better. You know, we're starting at the middle school level, 8th grade, but I would even encourage people to start sooner. I know I've been in my former districts, we've had similar programs, and we started in kindergarten, where kindergarten started talking about me. What do I like to do? What do you see in your community? That's a conversation around a journey to an education toward a successful pathway, a successful career. You've heard about the MBAs. So for us right now, we're at 21% in terms of having all students engage in the MBA, and our sort of lagging indicator is 50%. So we're almost halfway there already for 2023. And then for, of course, for 2030, we're hoping 90%. So between the three or four of our districts, if we conform the market, you will see some highly rich graduates that lead with some experiences that are going to empower them to do whatever they want. And I like the conversations that I heard from some of my colleagues where they talk about transferable skills, right? Remaining skills, those type of skills that can be translated to any industry. Talk about, and I shouldn't say this, but it's just us today, right? No one else is watching, but Dr. Rodriguez's examples really hit home for me. Had that conversation with parents all the time in terms of, that's my phone. It's probably my mother. Had that conversation with parents many times in terms of exploring the different pathways. Everyone usually has a certain direction and a certain goal for their child when they're born, right? It's ordained, you're going to be this, you're going to be that, and having that. I've had that in my own household. You know, I had one of my children who was very smart child. Is in university for several years on the path to an MBA, and decided he wanted to go into electrical technician. That's what he wanted to do. Right? And had he had that exposure early on, he would have saved himself. I mean, you can never waste that education, it's priceless, right? But he would have a pathway towards a career and profession that he wants. And so he's pursuing that now. So that's important to have those conversations. So we've taken a very strategic approach to this, developing a 3-year plan. And you can see the implementation strategies here. I won't go through all of them to you, but the ones in red are the ones that we targeted for this particular year in terms of trying to target and then we'll scaffold with the others. And the last one there is we want to create a real world learning facilitator position. So we're looking for good people who want to connect the community with our students and have that dynamic. So if you know anyone or you are that person, then look out for our opportunities. You've seen this slide, I think it was just on one of the other presentations around the micro-regions and the shared pathways in terms of the graphic design, running college academics, and the school years. And I guess this is the last slide in terms of the apps. You've seen this as well too, in terms of categories, but I do want to encourage people to think outside the box in terms of your own jurisdiction. What are you doing? What can you offer that you can engage our students? I just had a conversation a few weeks ago with a young man who's into e-games, video games and stuff like that. And, you know, 15 years ago, that wasn't even seen as a career path, right? And that's a whole industry, you know, from being a performer to behind the scenes. And now we're looking at that as an opportunity for our students. I know there are many students who are going to jump on that. The young man I spoke to, he actually went to university for, he was in finance, and he was doing this e-game stuff on the side as a club, and made that kind of, and spent more time doing that, ended up becoming a career as a business around it. In terms of doing that. So this is a wonderful opportunity. So I encourage you to be dynamic, be innovative, and be creative. Come to us with any proposal you have. We won't turn you down. We won't let the barn door hit you on the way out. And good luck. Thank you for welcoming me to Kansas City. I look forward to working and serving you.
Thank you to each of you. As you can tell, it's a unique opportunity for our students. And I would open it up to questions now, if anybody has any questions. You answered everything. Does anybody have any ideas for projects? I have a couple. I hear you see one back there.
I just have a question.
Okay.
I just wonder if maybe all the panelists would maybe talk about certainly Kaufman being a synthesizing of all this, which is great to see. Each district being able to come together. Maybe just talk about the process of how that came about and any pitfalls as you kind of assess your own district boundaries, strengths and weaknesses, and then how that can relate to surrounding districts. So you can really tie this together well.
So for those on Zoom, question was, how did this all kind of come together, and what are some of the pitfalls? Do one of you want to?
Maybe come up there.
Yes.
Take Melinda's cue of looking at me and pointing at me. So this is kind of the historical side of a couple of different things. The school districts had kind of a change in leadership over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. So the Center School District, Dr. Sharon Niblick took over, and then the next year I took over, and Yolanda Cargill came in to Hickory Mills the following year. So the three of us just kind of all congregating together. Number one, because our boundaries all are right up against each other. At the same time, we share a lot of students that go from one district to the next district to the next. So we have a lot of common goals, a lot of common challenges, and so the three of us just tended to always kind of meet together and talk together, sometimes just in a crying fest or whatever, based on what's going on in our districts. But But what we realized is that this was an opportunity for us to do something different. And you kind of dovetailed that on what Kaufman began to do and start kind of common conversations with individuals and with all the superintendents. And so when they started trying to bring everybody together, we were the only ones that were like, well, this doesn't make any sense for us to do this by ourselves. We are 3 districts that are all one high school. So if you are a larger district, you've got multiple high schools, then a lot of times you have multiple more opportunity to do this kind of thing. So with the 3 of us, it's like, well, let's think about what we could do if we partner together, because then we have one piece, you have a piece, so then our students get the opportunity to actually benefit from that. So I can say we're the only ones right now that are kind of doing that, but it really started as simple as 3 individuals coming together and having a conversation about challenges and things, and how do we make it work together differently. And so we've got some community partners like Prep KC and some others that help facilitate some of those conversations and get us to kind of think out of our own heads too. But there definitely were some challenges and probably still some more financial things but all 3 superintendents at that time, and it's continued obviously as well, that, hey, we agree that this is what's in best interest of all of our kids, and it's going to benefit all 3 districts in a way that a lot of other areas don't have the opportunity to do. So that's how that kind of came about in that regard.